Hey, what's up guys? My name is Enrique Navarro, and I'm making this video in attempts to reasonably explain to you how I became a merch guy and how I got to travel with bands and sell their stuff. So let's hope this works out good. I got into touring completely accidentally. I went to high school, as everyone does, and I graduated at the age of 17. After high school, I worked at Starbucks until I started touring. So I was working all the way from 17 to I was around late 18s. So I was out of high school for a year and I went to college. And then, because that's what you do, I applied for financial aid, I did all that jazz. And then 2 days after officially starting college, I got a Facebook message from a band called Greeley Estates. And they had asked me to come touring. So here's how that message came to be. While I was in high school, I was a big fan of a band called Oh Sleeper. In '09, they played at the Social in Orlando with the Human Abstract, the Rest of the Bear Ones, and Vanna. I had driven up with some friends to catch them, and after the show I met them, and we just hung out. And then a couple of months later, I found out they were doing a headliner. They were touring in Florida for 6 full days, 5 show days, 6 days in Florida. So I told my manager in Starbucks I needed those days off, and weeks prior to them coming, I saved a bunch of Right Now recovery coupons. And I just saved as many as I could, which is like a free drink at Starbucks. Anyway, when Oh Sleeper came in Florida, I drove my car up to Jacksonville, which was the first day, and I introduced myself, and they're like, oh, we remember you, and I gave them all the Right Now recovery coupons. It was like 40 of them, 40 free Starbucks drinks. Long story short, I was their new favorite fan. So I went to that Jacksonville show, and at the end we hung out, and they're like, hey man, I'll see you around. I was like, oh, I'll be at tomorrow's show. And they're like, oh really? I was like, yeah. I believe the next show was in Tampa. So I went there and I saw them again and we talked again, and I became really good friends with Greeley Estates because they were, I think, direct support on that package. It was Oh Sleeper headliner, Greeley Estates direct support, Oceana, and I think the opener was I Am Alpha and Omega. So we all hung out there and I became friends with them too. Then the next day was an off day. And it was in Orlando. So I drove to Orlando with them. We all hung out at the beach and it was fun. And then I hung out all day with them. We went to Chick-fil-A. It was the first time I ever had Chick-fil-A. And so day after the off day, I went to their show. It was at this Christian weird club thing I had never been to. So we all hung out there, and then I talked even more to Greeley Estates there. And by the end of the trip, I knew everybody pretty well. Fast forward a couple of weeks, I start college, and I get that message, really, I told you about. So a week into college, I drop out. I tell my professors, hey, I got an offer to travel the world, not the world, but travel the United States with a band and sell their merchandise and meet cool people and make a living out of it, or a decent living. And, decent living, I mean $15 a day. But that's enough for, at the time, 18-year-old to survive on. So I did that. On that Greeley Estates tour, it was a headliner for them. It was a No Rain, No Rainbow tour. Tides of Man was on that. Vanna was supposed to be on that. And A Bullet for a Pretty Boy was on that. So I did that whole tour and I worked real hard. And then A Bullet for a Pretty Boy noticed that I worked hard. So fast forward a couple of months, and A Bullet for a Pretty Boy is doing a tour with Attila and Our Last Night. And so they asked me to do merch for them. So I did that, and then I became friends with Attila, and then half of the tour, Attila dropped out and Vanna joined them, so I became really good friends with the Vanna dudes. Fast forward a couple of months, and then Oh Sleeper is doing direct support for Emory. And Micah puts a message on Facebook. It says, looking for a merch guy, needs to be over 21 and experienced. And I qualified for only one of those things, experience. I was not over 21. At the time I was still 18, but I flipped out because I was such a big fan. I had Oh Sleeper chest tattoo. I mean, I still do. But I Facebooked Micah and I was like, hey man, I would like to try out for the position. I know I'm not 21, but I've been touring with Greeley. I've been touring with A Bullet for Pretty Boy, and I feel like I could do the job. So I guess he checks with the guys, and sure enough, they hire me. I flew myself out, and I worked completely for free. I did the whole tour for free. I even remember at the end, James wanted to pay me, and I was running away from him so that he wouldn't pay me because I wasn't doing it for money. I still don't do it for money. I was touring because I like touring. So from then on, any tour they did, they would call me and I would do merch for them. After the Falling in Reverse tour, I had met their merch guy, Anthony Moore, and then he was from Miami, Florida, like me, and so we just made, we started off right. We were both from the same area. We knew some of the same people. We both spoke Spanish. So for the summer was coming up, and I was supposedly gonna do merch for Skip the Foreplay, who was opening that bill on the following reverse tour. And Anthony calls me. He's like, "Hey, Census Fail is actually looking for a merch person, and I recommended you. If you get a call, it's because I helped you out." And I was like, "Dude, thank you so much." And to this day, I'm so grateful, because Census Fail did call me, and I get a call from this guy named Buddy Nielsen. And he's like, "Hey man, we'd like to hire you. Here's the pay. Here's the work you're gonna do." And when I got that call, that was probably the biggest merch opportunity I had, and the most work I would probably have ever done to that point. Warped Tour 2012 was an amazing experience. I saw so many old friends, and I met new people as well. I met Mai, who's a little Asian girl that works for Pierce DeVale, Dylan, who's working for Taking Back Sunday and The Hughes, Marvin, Lizzie, Laura from Blood on the Dance Floor. The list could go on. But anyway, I met lots of people and just made more friends, and just reminded me how good and how lucky I am to have the job that I have. After Warped Tour, I call home, and my friend Kevin, who works for Every Time I Die, hit me up about a driving opportunity, and so I drove for a bandwagon, and that was on that Pierce DeVale, Sleeping with Sirens, Tonight Alive, Hands Like Houses tour. So after that tour was ended, Tonight Alive was like, "Hey, we're gonna be doing this tour with Story So Far, Men Overboard. Would you like to do merch for us?" And I was like, "Heck yeah, I'll do merch for you guys." So I came home, and that was my next gig. Before that Tonight Alive tour, and I got another opportunity. Charlie, who is the tour manager for Every Time I Die at the moment, called me and offered me a gig. And then this is how I met Charlie. Remember I met Skip the Foreplay on the following reverse tour? Anyway, they were going to do a tour with Blessed to Fall, and at the Skylines and the Skyly Drive. So they called me to do merch for them. So I did that tour, and Charlie was the tour manager for Blessed to Fall. And man, he's just a cool dude. So yeah, we just kept in touch, and we texted here and there, and then one thing led to another. After the Every Time I Die tour happens, and I know Charlie or whatever, I go straight to the Tonight Alive tour. And then, gosh, that was a really fun tour. Story So Far guys, Man Overboard, they're all such cool dudes. It's just like, there was never a dull moment on that tour. So that's pretty much how I got into merching. I don't know if that helped you at all, or if it was just me rambling, telling you my stories of tour. I definitely missed a couple of tours in that explanation, because I've done so many tours, but ooh, Under Oath tour. This is random. You can stop watching the video now, because I'm just going to ramble, but yeah, you can stop watching video. Okay, Under Oath tour. I skipped out on the Under Oath tour. Before that Every Time I Die tour, I did the Under Oath tour with a Cities Burns. How I got in touch with the Cities Burns is, remember that O Sleeper Emery tour I talked about? Well, the opener was Hawkboy, and Hawkboy consists of two Cities Burn members, Cody Bonnet and Aaron. So yeah, they were going to do an Under Oath tour, and they needed a merch person, and they knew me from the Emery tour, and they called me. And they were like, "Hey man, would you want to do Under Oath's last tour ever?" And I was like, yeah! That didn't seem that excited, but I was really excited when it did happen. And so I did that tour. Anyway, I needed to add that to this video, because Under Oath is one of the most influential bands to the scene that I work in, and will continue to be that band for the rest of time. So, but anyway, thank you for watching this. Bye.